Hi, here's another example of a Roboflow workflow. In this example, the Roboflow workflow is a hot folder from the hot folder template type, and this workflow will actually delete any files dropped in a folder called ignore. So in the parameters, I selected the folder to look into, to watch, and I made it relative so this workflow can easily be reused. You can set it to any folder to watch that it actually needs to watch in the real installation. And then in the action script, I process every file coming in. The first step that I do is I store a part of the file as text. So what I actually do is I store the file path, the complete file path, as text. This gives me something like c:\/ blah 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 with all the folder names and the file name, or on a Mac or a Linux environment / name of volume / whatever path. To be sure that I can do an exact comparison of the folder, I replace in the text the backslashes by slashes, so my test can work on either Linux, Mac OS, or file folder path. And if I the next instruction is then the actual test. I test if in the file path the text contains ignore, which is the folder name I'm looking for. I'm putting a slash in front of it and behind it to be sure that it's the folder name and not the file name or a part of any folder name. Just by doing this check, I can know if this is a file I want to ignore. If so, as example action, I delete the file that was dropped in that folder. I could also just ignore it. I could say that I'm putting here a notification message, something in the log, write log here, and then I can write a text in the log. I could say file, I could click here, file ignored, and then I could use the tag file path, which was the name of the variable we used, file path, so I can easily reuse that here to add this information to my log. And that way, the next instruction, I delete the file. So file ignored, or I could say file deleted. And in the else part, I process every other file that is not in such an ignore or subfolders of the ignore folder. And in that case, I, for instance, create a target folder. So I say, okay, I will have a target folder. Here again, it resides under the workflows parameter folder as an example, but it could be a hard-coded folder. And then I create it if it doesn't exist, and I call it target. And then I do a copy move of this file. I copy the file and I call it file copy. And the next instruction could be cataloging the file or whatever you want to do with it. So you see, it's very easy to filter out a certain workflow. Just look in the file path and ignore it, or do something with that specific file in that specific subfolder. Thank you for joining me. This was another Roboflow example for Canto Cumulus.